And hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our VELUX EHF excuse me, Champions League Google Expert Hangouts. I apologize for the slight delays here. We were actually waiting for a fourth person to join us, but unfortunately, due to technical problems, Björn Pazen is at this very moment in time not able to do so, but he will hopefully be very shortly. Nevertheless, I even more welcome our three experts for tonight. Of course, Tom, as usual, joins us from Ireland. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Thomas, good to see you. Hello, boys.
Nemanja, our journalist who covers the Balkan region for us, also a very well-known face by now. Nemanja, how are you?
Very good, Thomas. Hello, everyone.
And Bence, of course, our expert for all the Hungarian teams and much more. Bence, how are you?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here again.
The problem being is that Björn actually wanted to join us from a truck stop, and we can't vouch for the wireless connection truck stops in southwest Germany, but we really have our fingers crossed that he'll be with us very soon.
Thomas, it really doesn't matter, because normally when Björn, at this stage of the season, Björn joins us with 3 German teams in the last 8. There's only one.
Only one. So we don't need him. So.
Where Bence is the man, because there's 2 Hungarian teams.
Much more Croatia. So I'm very happy, Bence, that you're with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for inviting me.
It is quarterfinal time, and because the first game is on Thursday, we're just about 48 hours away from the first game of the VELUX EHF Champions League quarterfinals. This first game, and we get straight into it, is Zagreb meeting Barcelona. Tom, you were at the draw when you saw these teams being drawn against each other. What were the first thoughts that came to your mind?
Well, of course, the first thoughts that comes to anybody's mind is those classic matches from way back when these 2 teams were absolute giants, and then of course into the noughties when Zagreb had those wonderful teams, and they've really stormed back, haven't they? I mean, nobody expected Zagreb to be in the position they're in. When you looked at they got rid of all their stars and they had all these young guys coming in, and then they were selling the young guys and rebuilding again, and you had this idea that Zagreb was going to be a club that was going to be selling, you know, because the big teams are going to come in buying all their players, and this is what was going to happen. And then of course, you know, you see Xavier O'Callaghan and Ante Antic, and they're kind of hugging each other and sort of saying, "Oh, remember the days." And then you have the coach of Zagreb at the moment, Vujovic. By the way, the reason I picked number 9 when I played handball was because of that man, and his ties with Barcelona, and what he won there, and how he did, and everything else. It just stirred up all these memories, and you kind of have this superstar team of Barcelona playing. I don't want to say they're unknowns, the boys from Zagreb, but they're relatively unknown in the world of handball, outside maybe Croatia. You know, everybody in Croatia, or maybe in the former Yugoslav republics, know who they are now. But they're kind of unknowns. I wouldn't say they're a young team. They like to throw this at us all the time, that they're this young team and they're only learning and all the rest. But the guys are in their mid-20s, a lot of them. They have some young players. They've got some older players, the Balcic boys. Horvat, of course, Sprem is not a spring chicken anymore. So you've got the makings of an absolutely, you've got the makings of a wonderful game. I still think Barcelona are too strong. I think they're in a wonderful vein of form at the moment. If you watch their last couple of matches in the VELUX EHF Champions League, even if you discount how poor Aalborg were in the first game, you just look at the standard Barcelona at the moment, and you think to yourself, not much chance for Zagreb. But I do have something to say, but I'd like to hear what Nemanja has to say about them first.
Yes, just about to say, Nemanja, from your point of view, how's Zagreb preparing for this game? And before you answer, just very quick one, Björn's late arrival, or not arrival so far, got me a bit off the track. Obviously, all fans who are watching us right now, tweet us your questions at EHFCL or use the Q&A tool here on Google Hangout, and we will throw them into Tom, Nemanja, and Bence as soon as you ask them. Now it's your turn, Nemanja.
Sure. First of all, I'm going to say how I reacted when I saw the draw. It was a dream draw. I couldn't have made it myself much better. When I saw that Barcelona drew Zagreb, I said to myself, well, this is the hardest Barcelona could get, actually. From all the teams in the second part, I think that Zagreb is going to give Barcelona a run for their money, at least on their home team, home court. Speaking of preparation, Zagreb as well, as you know, have been participating in the Second League Final Four, and they were third from what I remember, yes. They've been able to save some energy, you know, not playing in the final and being consistent throughout the season. Playing against Stolborg at home should have given you a preview of how they intend to play against Barcelona or pretty much any given team at home. There's a very good interview with Vujovic I've read just a few days ago, saying, well, his views on handball and such, and you can draw some conclusions of what he wants from this season. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if a game ends with a draw or at least a minimum Barcelona victory, because I think Zagreb kids, to say as Tom suggested, kids are very capable.
If you mean narrow win, you're just talking about the first game. You're not talking overall, are you?
Yeah, I'm talking about the first game because I've been to Zagreb Arena a few times. I've been to the other venue where they play, and when they play at home, it's a pressure cooker. You just simply cannot escape what they throw against you. You know, the team has amazing depth, and those kids are all rotating in a perfect way, and Vujovic has all the pieces of the puzzle. It's not yet a Final Four team by most standards, but I think that Barcelona is not going to get away easy.
Bence, how do you see this team? Can Zagreb tease them, especially with, I think they're counting on more than 15,000 spectators supporting them?
Yeah, that could be important, but I think I could say that I was the last one to see Zagreb play, because they played in a Second League Final Four in Veszprém, and I must say that everything that the guys said before me are true. This is a team with a huge potential that even Barcelona have to be aware of the threat they pose. And I'm not just talking about at home, because they might have problems with away games this season in the Champions League. But in the Final Four, which was in Veszprém in front of a crowd that could be hostile and intimidating for people, they played two excellent games. I mean, the way they defended, this is just, you know, Kielce at their best, I must say. This is the Zagreb defense. They are tough, they're aggressive. It's very, very hard to even create chances, not to mention score goals. They might have problems when when it comes to goalkeepers, but still they could have good days. So I agree with the guys, and I must say I root for Zagreb a little bit. I like these very young but very compact, very united teams.
Yeah. Thomas, I just want to say two things about the Zagreb team. The first is they've won all their home games, all right, but the one team that they had the most problems with, Nemanja will remember this, was against Logroño, against Náutiles La Rioja. They had a real problem with the Spanish style of play. That kind of quick interpassing, that against it, and it was only what should have been a disallowed goal at the end. I don't want to rain on their parade, but Chilicha shouldn't have. The goal shouldn't have been allowed. But it was only that got them the win. So that gives me a little bit of a feeling that Barcelona will do better against Zagreb than many teams have. Now here's my second point. The guys are talking about defense at their strongest. I do not like the way this team plays, and I'm going to say this right out there. I don't like the way they play. It is not sportsmanlike the way they play in defense. It is horrible. Now I back this up with statistics. In the group phase of the Champions League, Kiel had 21 2-minutes. Barcelona had 26 2-minutes. This Zagreb team had 45 2-minute suspensions in the 10 group games, and it could have been double that. I think the referees weren't hard enough on them. In the last 16, they had 12 two-minute suspensions in the 2 games. 12 two-minute suspensions, Thomas. Their style of defending, now don't get me wrong, they're not just a standard 6-0. They play a 5-1. Sometimes they play a 3-3. They're trying something new, but it's the willingness to go out and physically impose themselves in my opinion, the laws of the game that I don't like. I don't like it, Thomas. And I say to myself, what is it about? You have to win, of course. I have no problem with that. But to win at all costs is wrong. And I would say that outside of Zagreb, no one will like this team. You know, you want teams to be liked outside, and they will not like them.
Okay. Can you?
Like it. Thomas, I'm being very strong about this. I really do not like it one bit, and I've watched so many of their games now, and every single time I say, what is this? I don't like it at all.
Unfortunately, you cut out a number of times. I don't know whether that was the it was the same. Was
my lawyer,
Nemanja and Bence, because I could only hear like 70–80%. But we definitely got your point. How do you think? How will Barcelona react to this, Tom? I mean, obviously they, same as you, they have seen the matches and they have seen this very, very physical defense that you just described. How do you think they will react to it?
Well, I think that they've got players that can upset that. If they play a 3-3 defense against Barcelona, they're going to be absolutely torn apart. And secondly, if they get that many 2 minutes, Barcelona are one of the few teams in the Champions League that will destroy you on 2-minute suspensions and power plays. They're that quick. And I'll tell you another thing. They have players that know that can deal with this. Karabatic, Rutenka. They've players who can deal with that kind of physicality. So Barcelona are one of these teams. They're not just a pretty handball team. They're strong, and they've got really strong line players. So if they leave an open defence, they'll have problems, and they'll give away penalties, Zagreb, and they'll give away 2 minutes against them because of the speed of Barcelona. So this kind of defence won't work. They won't intimidate Barcelona the way they've intimidated other teams down in Zagreb and elsewhere, by the way.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted. I have to speak a little bit in defense of Zagreb, but I don't mean to get
absolutely.
Yeah, just a little bit in defense of Zagreb, because I really appreciate what Vujovic is doing as a coach. I always liked his approach, and I think that he's one of the greatest handball minds right now, whether he is a player or as a coach. He's amazing. Speaking of that, we actually spoke like a month ago in Zagreb on their training, and he told me, I actually asked him pretty much the same question as Tom did. Where are you going with this defense? What are you intending to do? What are the plans for this team? And he said, I'm trying to bring back the Yugoslavian handball. I'm not going towards the attractive Scandinavian fast-paced handball that people are always gravitating towards. I'm trying to play the handball that we are playing over here, because that's the handball that these players understand. He actually points that the addition of Čelica is the kind of balance that the team gets, because it's mostly Croatian. Now we have a Bosnian player, Čelica, now we have a Serbian coach, Vujovic, and he thinks that it's a perfect combination. He would like even more players from the region to join up Zagreb. Speaking of that, they aren't ashamed of what they're doing one fair bit. They're pretty much aware that this is the play that's going to get them results. I'm going to draw parallels to Montenegro national team or Budućnost with women's handball. It's the same kind of lockdown defense that gets you the results. It takes some years to start playing, fluently and offensively, but you have amazing talents and amazing players that developed under Vujovic that weren't noticeable before him. First of all, we have Sandro Obranović that played amazingly in the regional league. We have Stepancic that played amazingly also in the regional league and as well as in the Champions League. So he's developing, he's working towards something, and I'm very eager to see where he's going to end up with this team.
Taking all these factors together, do you agree that eventually it will be, nevertheless, Barcelona that we will see in play after 120 minutes of handball? Is that how I can summarize your elaborations?
I would say yes. I would think that this is one of the few ties that you could definitely see a clear winner.
Yeah.
I think I think Tom is not such a big fan of Italian football and Catenaccio as such.
No.
But yeah. You have to realize that there's not only just one way to play handball. These teams traditionally play this kind of handball. They're tough, they're aggressive, and it's all based on their defense. And I know that sometimes it goes over the line, and sometimes it's not good to see. But if you think of the Spanish coaches and the Spanish handball as such, they are basing their games on defense as well. I mean, defense is of the utmost importance even for the Spanish, although they they use tactics and they use formation instead of pure strength and aggressivity. That's true. But still, I mean, I wouldn't say that we don't belong to the Balkan, but I always like this kind of handball. West Brom had a lot of coaches from these countries, so you just have to deal with it. And it's your choice. You can like whoever you want, but I just want you to know that there are people who do appreciate what they do.
I agree, and I understand that, Thomas. My point is that, Bence is right. There are many ways to skin a cat. Okay, what I don't like is the win-at-all-costs element of their defense. It is over the top, and it's purely aggressive. It's purely aggressive. It is stop the player at all costs. And if you look at Bence mentioned there the Spanish teams. You look at Kiel in the 3-2-1 they played against Flensburg. Almost no 2 minutes in a very open defense. It was movement. It was blocking. It was intercepting the ball. I'm not saying that's the only way to defend, but there must be a way to defend aggressively without it being, dare I say, almost violent. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
Handball after all.
I think we all agree with that. As soon as you get into these kind of spheres that you just mentioned, Tom, I think it obviously should be stopped immediately.
Well, I think that really the referees up to now in the games that I've watched have done remarkably well to try and keep a lid on it. And I think that ultimately, and Nemanja might agree with me here. By the way, I saw the highlights of the semi-final where they just lost to West Brom, if I'm remembering correctly, in the Seha League. And I thought that from the highlights it looked like a great game. It really did. But I think that really the referees are saying to themselves, how can the game go on if there's only 2 Zagreb players left on the court? But some of the stuff that they pull is pretty, it's touch and go, Thomas. That's what I would say.
Well, speaking of defense, and I'm going to be very short. In defense of the defense that Zagreb plays, it's a traditional defense that the Balkan teams are having. Tom said it's either 5-1 or 3-3, but it's actually a derivative of 6-0 defense. If the players go very deep, they're playing a dynamic second and fifth, and it's actually a 6-0 defense that transfers into 3-3. Or if you want to block the centre back, it's a 5-1. So it's basically one defense that's gone into great extent of development over the years. So that's the reason why I'm looking to see what Zagreb is going to come up with against Barcelona. One more thing, and I'm going to end with this, at least the part about Zagreb, is that we can all agree that we know what Barcelona is going to bring to the tie. Yes? But we do not know what to expect from Zagreb.
Thomas, I have to say, I agree 100% with Nemanja. You know that last year we did Tom names his 7 players that the coach will put out. I could not tell you right now who Vujovic would put on that court. I couldn't tell you. I could tell you who I think would be his best starting 7, but I can guarantee you that wouldn't be the 7 that he put out. They really, Nemanja said it, they've incredible strength and depth in their forward, in their attacking play. I mean, they've got almost 3 players for every position. The only one I could be sure that he'd have on the court would be Josip Valcic. That's the only guy that I would be sure would be playing in the attack, and maybe Horvat, you know, on the right wing. And then after that, I couldn't tell you who he'd play.
Filipovic in goal. Yeah.
And Filipovic in goal, of course. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that I have to.
I love Filipovic. I love him.
Discussion on this game short, but you know, if we otherwise we'll end up talking until 7 o'clock. I want to close the discussion on this game, and we'll all be much wiser come Thursday night with a comment we got on Twitter that apparently Vujovic has said that 40,000 tickets could have been sold. Unfortunately, that's much more than the capacity of Zagreb Arena, but I think Barcelona will get a very, very loud welcome when they get to the hall on Thursday night. And I want to move straight to the next game with a question here on Google, coming from our follower Fulya Ekdem. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And she, sorry, I'm just not sure. Barca, Kiel and West Ham are well ahead of their opponents, it reads. I think everybody's waiting to see the result of Vardar Kielce. What do you think of this game, Tom? Too close to call?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why it's too close to call. I've been on the record as saying that Kielce were in the worst group that I've seen in a long time in the Champions League in the group stages. They struggled against Dunkirk away. They even struggled against Aalborg, who we saw against Barcelona were not that good. They eventually won all 10 games, which in itself is incredible. They've been to the Final Four, although it was 2 years ago, so they know how to get there. But when you look at their performance against Montpellier, who I think was almost the second weakest team after Aalborg in the last 16. When you look at the performance at home, it was really, really strange. And their defence looked all out of sorts, and Diego Simeone looked like he could walk in and score any goal he wanted to score. And then you look at Vardar away to Plock, and it was like Jekyll and Hyde, two completely different teams. When you look at Vardar away to Plock, they were absolutely rubbish. I don't think anybody would have given them a chance in the second leg, apart from the fact that they had their home crowd. But then you suddenly see Gorbach scoring, 9 out of 11. You look at Duchabayev, who's been brilliant all season, and Karacic. Those three were just unstoppable in that game. And then you say to yourself, which team is going to turn? It's the Vardar that played Plock. I can't see Kielce having a chance. But Kielce have this way of winning games. I mean, Bence will remember the game that they played away to Szeged, and Szeged were losing by 3 at half-time, went 4 goals up with about 10 minutes remaining, and somehow Kielce came back and won the game by 1. So they just have this knack of being able to win games even when they're not playing pretty. But, as I said, that last 16 game against Montpellier really showed up a lot of frailties in that centre block that they have. Whoever's playing in there, whether it be Musa and I don't know whether Grabarczyk was playing in that game. He might Tkaczyk and Musa or Krapkowski and Musa just doesn't look right. Maybe they need Krapkowski in there, Kielce. But I couldn't tell you, Thomas, and I'm not going to. There's no reading my lips on the rest of the 3 games. I'm not putting my head on any chopping block. I made a fool of myself the last time. I apologise to the handball world, and saying you couldn't call this. You might just say slight advantage for Vardar because they're at home.
Mm-hmm. Nemanja, Tom mentioned the frailties that were exposed, like Kielce's frailties in the last 16. Do you think Vardar will exploit them?
Well, definitely. They're playing their first match at home, and it's going to be a warfare at Yanis Sandanski. We've seen how they've won against Plock, and it's very difficult to play there. I think actually that Kielce is a very quality team, and quality-wise, and speaking of the years past, I think that they definitely deserve to be at the Final Four, but not in expense of Vardar, because Vardar have been playing excellently lately, especially at home. We have one key player that we've neglected to mention, and it's Dibirov, who is absolutely the key at Vardar. If he has a day, nothing can stop him. He scores absolutely impossible goals. Speaking of defense, we have, for the first time, we have defensive specialists that emerged over at Vardar under the current coach. And we have Ilija Butovic, a Serbian player, who's playing extremely well defense. And I think that he, with his length and long arms and playing the way he does, is able to stop any threat that come up to him. Now, well, not to mention Alex Dushabayev, who's sharp shooting, and even his backup, Stefan Terzic, which we weren't able to see much of. I'm going to vouch for him. He's amazing. You have at least one world-class player on every position, and playing at home, I think it subs up to slight edge for Vardar, and I think a home win. But I also think that we're going to see 2 home wins, both Kielce and Vardar, and we're going to see by how many goals.
And so do you think we've seen the true Kielce already, or do you agree with Tom that the team hasn't really been tested and it remains to be seen whether they can add another 10-20% to the performance or not?
I'm absolutely in line with Tom on this one, because regarding Kielce, I really like Agne Galde on line player. He's probably my favorite line player there is, and I'm definitely looking to see how they're going to develop their game, because they have to be near 100% to win Vardar, even in 2 games. Bence,
a lot of talk ahead of this game, obviously, is also about Dushabayev being the coach on Kielce's, or Talan Dushabayev being the coach on Kielce's side, and his son Alex playing for Vardar. Do you see this playing any kind of role, or is that a nice media topic that father meets son?
I think it's the latter. I don't think that it's very important. I mean, it's a funny scene if you think about it, when one of the defenders get the the comment from the coach to take care of that guy because he's having a great game. So this could be interesting. But I'm kind of surprised that none of the guys mentioned Arpad Sterbik, who's talking about defense and talking about especially at home in Skopje. I mean, Sterbik could still change games completely around, and this is pretty much what happened. Okay, I know that Gorbok had an excellent game, but it's just the confidence comes from defense, and a good defense has a very good goalkeeper behind it, and this is what Sterbik Arpad can provide 9 out of 10 times. So that's why I also give the edge to Vardar. I actually was in that arena this year, and I must say that if you're really a fan of handball, you should go there and check it out because you will love it.
Thomas, he's absolutely right about Sterbik, and Nemanja's right about Dibirov, and I think everybody would definitely say that in the last couple of games, Dibirov has not been at his best. So I'm a big fan of his. I love him. I've loved him since the first time I saw him in the Final Four in 2010 with Tchaikovsky. I think he's brilliant, and I just love his personality. By the way, imagine a phone call. Imagine Alex rings Mammy, and Daddy answers the home phone, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, it's Alex," and he goes, "I have no son." You know what I mean? It's like there are no family ties coming up this weekend. I mean, it's great. It's a great story, isn't it? And Thomas, don't forget that the two coaches were best buddies for a long time as well. So working together. And there's a lot of ifs, ands, and maybes in that whole thing. I mean, you can imagine them second guessing themselves. One says,
"What's Dad going to do? What's my son going to do?"
Talon could do this, so I should do this, and he's going, "But he might know I'd do this if he does this, so he's going to do something else." I just think that this is going to be. I think this is going to be I agree with Bence. You've got to go to the Yanis Sandanski at least once in your life, just because it's the most amazing handball arena, and I just think that this game. Can you imagine Vardar last season? Right, it was in the Boris Tchaikovsky. They miss out in the last 10 seconds on a penalty, to get to the Final Four. So you can see Sergei Samsonenko over there saying, "Come on, boys, davai," or whatever they say in Russian, I could just, it's going to be powerful.
Just quickly, staying for one more minute with this game. Fulya, it's a women's name. Thanks, Fulya, for clarifying that. She summarized your first comments, Tom, and she said that champagne handball will not work for Vardar in the quarterfinals. Was she right in summarizing you this way?
I said that.
Yeah?
I never said that.
That's how she summarized you. That's how she summarized.
No, I just said. All right, I just said that they played champagne handball against Plotsk. They really did. I mean, the boys remember that 9-goal win. They just played brilliant defensive. Budovic was fantastic in there. They got their tactics absolutely 100% right. They completely messed up their defense in the first game. Gonzalez was trying to change too many people, you know, bring on two. He brought on Ratsfortsev, which didn't work. He had guys moving back. Got his defense at breaking, was brilliant, and the team played together, and that was the key. So yes, if they play champagne handball, they'll be good. Because the guy handball at the moment, he's playing the kind of handball that Uretsky played a couple of seasons ago, and Bilecki is he just looks absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm not sure, you guys know more about what's going on over there than I do. I haven't heard anything about Lievski. He's been missing the last couple of games, and they really miss him. Buntic is a great player, but he doesn't have that kind of fluidity that Lievski brings to the game. So if Lievski's playing, it'll be tough.
Sorry, say that again, Nemanja?
Nothing. I just said in line with what Tom said. Buntic is completely different on the same position, but a completely different player, offers completely different outcome than the one Tom mentioned. I don't know about
Lievski? I haven't heard anything, no.
No, neither have I.
Neither have I.
And so let's hope he is playing, because I love to see the best. I love to see the two best teams. I don't want one team going through because people are missing. I love, especially when we get to this stage, you know.
Yeah, one more thing, and it will be very short. I'm going to quote Arpad Sterbik, because we actually spoke on the phone one day before Plotsk game, and he said he was visibly upset, and he said, I didn't want to speak to anybody on the phone, but he kind of, I don't know, selected me from various journalists who called him that day, and he said, I'm very upset with what happened. We were preparing for the rematch, and I said, but what are you going to do? It's a tough score to take. And he said, I'm going to make sure we do it. And by the tone, if any one of you spoke with Arpad Sterbik, by the tone he's got it. You know, when he said it, he means it. So.
Can I just add one more thing? Yeah, I also met him.
Always got the time for one more thing.
I also met him last weekend, still in the Final Four. And if you had any doubts that Vardar have Kielce on their mind 100%, you could just see how Vardar played those games and what their approach was to those games. Because after 2 losses against,
if there was any.
Sorry?
If there was any.
Yeah, I mean they were, you know, they didn't really care that they finished only 4th, although they would have a lot to take on for Veszprém. But still, they're 100% focused on Kielce, and they had a lot of time to prepare for that game. So expect a tough opponent, especially in Skopje.
So Tommy, you'll be in Skopje. So for everyone who can unfortunately not be at the Jannis Sandanski Arena on Saturday already, go to EHF TV and you can watch it live there with commentary from Tom Brannigan. Bence, let's stay with you and move to Szeged versus Kiel. And we've got another follower asking here on Google. After defeating Rhein-Neckar Löwen, are they ready to knock out the next candidate, the next team? Are they on a German killing spree?
I mean, I think a lot of people from Szeged would be very happy to hear this. I suppose you mean, you know, last year's EHF Cup final and Cup.
EHF Cup in last 16.
Yeah. I mean, you have to know that Szeged had 2 months to prepare for those 2 games against Rhein-Neckar Löwen. They even sacrificed 2 games from the Hungarian national championship, which they lost. I mean, this was, you know, kind of shocking for their fans. But still, when the time came to beat an opponent that was stronger than them, that was better in almost any ways than them, and they were ready and they did it. And this was a shocking victory, I'm guessing, for the Germans, because to tell you the truth, I had the feeling that they didn't take Szeged too seriously, and this really hit back at them, because that team was very concentrated, very united, and they knew what to do against the German wall that lacked Gideon Guardiola, of course, which was a clutch thing that he was missing. But still, you know, we're talking about Kiel now. It's a different story. I mean, we're talking about a real top drawer team now, which Rhein-Neckar wasn't at those two games. So I of course give the edge to Kiel, because simply they have a much better team. But I'm really looking forward to the game in Szeged, because that will be a real spectacle.
Mm-hmm. Nemanja, well, Bence said they had 2 months to prepare for the last 16. Now they had just about 2 weeks to prepare for the quarterfinal. Maybe that's simply just not enough for Szeged. What do you think?
Well, against Kiel, I don't think that if they had a season to prepare for it, it won't be enough, because it's a top draw team, you know. And Kiel is just, if, as Tom said previously, Barcelona Zagreb is easy to predict, I think this is much easier to predict, this one. Although Szeged does have some very good players at their disposal, and I think that they're going to use them. Regarding the game, I just, like a few hours ago, I spoke with my friends about it. I want to see different opinions about it, but what we agreed on is that we're definitely going to see some spell of very good play from Szeged. Either it's going to be at the very beginning to show resistance, or is it going to be at the very end to decrease the difference. So Szeged definitely has the quality to match, but I'm not sure for how long. This is where we miss Björn Pazen, actually, to see, to hear more about the German team and to see how much the injury of Klein is affecting them. But
I can tell you that, Thomas. I can tell you that. Knowing, I looked at my crystal ball and I said Björn wouldn't be able to join us from his truck stop. So I looked at my crystal ball and I said I better watch the Rhein-Neckar Kiel game, which was on the Bundesliga. And by the way, well done to TV for showing it. It was brilliant, and I watched it. And there's always been a feeling among the handball world that Kees Lassen's teams play a kind of a free handball. You know, that he's got such world-class players they can basically do whatever they want.
Tom,
that game showed Dominic Klein. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on and off,
Thomas?
but I think now you're back. Yeah, now you're back.
Okay.
I didn't hear 100%, but you just...
This game showed they...
Yeah?
I mentioned Dominic Klein, didn't I?
Yes, you mentioned Dominic Klein.
You're breaking. All right. But they really missed him. They play a very team-orientated concept in the attack. And what they had to do was... they had no Dominic Klein, so they originally put Sprenger on the left wing to play. And it worked a little bit, but he's a left-hander playing on the left wing. It was very strange to see. And then they brought Rasmus Lauge and played him on the left wing, and it worked a little bit better. But you could see there was no major flow. And the game ended in a draw between themselves and Rhein-Neckar. I don't know what that means for Szeged. But it was very strange to watch Kiel play without a definitive left winger. They've brought Henrik Lundström back, but I don't know whether he can play in the Champions League.
He's eligible. Yeah.
Can he play?
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be interesting to see, because he'll have a couple of weeks to integrate with the team. And also, they had a young goalkeeper in goal, Sonna.
Yeah.
And they had no Palika because I think he's injured, and they had no Schustrand, who I think had flu. So they're not blessed with brilliant goalkeepers anyway, although Palika and Schustrand can each have a wonderful day. So I tell you, Szeged's a strange place. Ask Bence. It's really strange. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. People get lost when they go there, you know. You walk into that Sport Charnock, the crowd is like hanging over the barriers. You're looking at you with these evil Szeged eyes. Tell you,
Oh, come on, man. It wasn't very nice to say about this nice people of Szeged. Actually, in Hungary, it's called the city of sunshine.
It's the city. I meant it in a nice way. You know, they're giving the evil eye to the opposition, Thomas. It'll freak out even a top class player. And Szeged, I don't know what they do over there. What it is about the Sportcsarnok, which just means the sports hall, apparently. 2,000 people or 3,000 people leaning over the barriers, giving you the evil eye, and teams fall apart. I love it over there. It's great. My own personal feeling is I would just give the benefit to Kiel, but it's a banana skin. It's a banana skin, Thomas.
It is.
Can I add two things, please?
Yeah, you can slip on it, or you can.
Yeah, I mean, you guys talked about injuries in Kiel side, but we must say that Nico Mindegia will be sorely missed by Szeged. They have only one playmaker now. They only have one available middle back. This is one important thing, and I'm sure you guys heard that Jonas Kjaman had appendicitis and he's got operated 10 days ago, so he might be back for the return leg, but this is also not sure. Yeah. This was the first thing, and the second thing was that Djur are very proud. Sorry, Djur, I'm stupid. Szeged are very proud of that Sportcsarnok, as you said. This means sports hall, nothing more. Although it's called Új Szegedi Sportcsarnok, and rightly so, because if I can name one team that is able to, minimize a margin, that is Szeged, and this could be down to the fact that that's a real lion's den you have there.
Bence, I have a question, and a short one. What do you think about Dean Bombac in Szeged team?
Well, he's an excellent player, but he had a couple of injuries, minor and a little more serious ones too. And I always have the feeling when I see him play that he's a little overweight. I'm sorry to say, but you see those curves in the jersey, and you can't stop thinking that these guys might have a little bit too much weight on. But he's an excellent player, and I like his game.
Yeah, I think that he might be a solution for the center back. I don't know if he skips dinner, maybe.
If he skips,
are we on to food advice to players now? Yeah. I think
it's interesting to see, because Kiel play a really wonderful 3-2-1 defense, very open. And when Ryan Neckarleuven played a very open defense against, they didn't play it very well, just let me say that first, Szeged really destroyed it. So it'll be interesting to see what Bombac can do with this, against this 3-2-1 defense, because that suits his style, But I agree with Bence. You wouldn't imagine that Dejan can last an hour in 2 games against the likes of Kiel.
Actually, you agree with Nemanja on that one, but I also agree with Nemanja, so you agree with me too.
No, but I was agreeing with your point that he has nice curves.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tom, just throwing in another question here from Fulya, and she really liked the way Kiel defended against Flensburg in the last 16. Do you think a similar style can be expected and will be needed for Kiel to be successful in Szeged?
Well, they played that way against Ryan Neckarleuven, and Alfred Gislason, as a coach, I really highly respect him. And I remember about 3 years ago asking him a question about playing 3-2-1, especially at this level. And he said, yeah, we're a couple of years away from perfecting it. So, you kind of think to yourself, here's a guy playing 3-2-1 and Champions League level. I mean, this is the kind of a defense you teach a team that maybe doesn't have that Zagreb one-on-one kind of aggressivity, because everybody knows where they need to be in a 3-2-1. It's all about movement and cutting off space. And you watch them, and I mean, particularly that first game against Flensburg was one of the most beautiful coaching videos I've ever seen. That's a match. I mean, what they did in that game was just incredible. Now, on the flip side of that, you've got the likes of Zolt Balach, who likes to go 1-against-1, and he's an absolute tank. You've got Bombac, who likes to go 1-against-1, and you've got movement from line players in Szeged. They like to find space, and they like to come out and Pastor, Bence, you know better than I do, but he likes to play that kind of middle and line player. He likes all that. It is a pity Shellman's not going to be there. He adds something to that team, a lot actually, especially in defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thomas, that 3-2-1 defense is spectacular when it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
Defense demigods, Fulya called it in her question.
She's not wrong. Oh, was that the girl from Turkey?
Yes, she is.
With the high heel in the Twitter. Yeah. There you go. Okay.
The high heel in the Twitter. Yeah, just have to get a bit closer to the screen, but it is a high heel. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Quick summary of this one. Tough game in Saget, but with the home game looming just 7 days later, eventually we'll see Kiel again in the Final Four. Oh no! Okay. Tom, I'm not going to ask you. Nemanja nods.
I think yeah. They'll be very hard to overlook. And what Tom said about 3-1 defense, I completely agree. You know, it's wonderful to watch. Me as a former player, I enjoy watching 3-1 defense. And once you start playing it, it's difficult to play any other defense. And Tom knows why.
Okay. Well, guys.
You've one game left, Thomas. Come on.
One game left. I'm just getting a question here quickly. Bence, do you agree? One player will surely have a special welcome in Saget. Marco Vuyin, will he get a special welcome when he?
Yeah, there are a lot of stories about Vuyin and Saget, but yeah, he's not like there. I mean, I remember times when Saget supporters printed shirts with Marco Vuyin's head and the target on it. So.
Okay, I can see.
Sorry, excuse me, Thomas. Can I just say? Bence says that they print T-shirts with the targets on the guy's head, but I'm not allowed to give.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Yeah, that was. You know, to tell you the truth now. I'm sorry. I know I'm burning more time here, but I need to say, there was a very, very tough game, a very aggressive game, and 1 minute from time, Veszprém had a penalty, and Marco Vuyin hit the goalkeeper in the head on purpose. You could tell that it was on purpose. And there was, you know, huge outrage both on the pitch and in the stands. And the next game was in the Hungarian finals. And in the next game, of course, people were really round up for this, and that's why they printed this shirt.
I just always quote, I think, Rutenko on this, who, you know, gets the odd boo or so. And I think he always says, you know, the more I get screamed at, the better I play. We'll see what happens when Vuyin returns to Saget.
You will have a very good day then. You will have an excellent day.
That is your match of the week, Tom, isn't it? Takes you to Paris Veszprém, rematch of last year's quarterfinal. Are you still with us, Tom, or are you frozen? He's frozen.
Frozen, yeah.
He's frozen. Okay, anyway. Paris against Veszprém is the rematch. Last year, Bence was a pretty straightforward affair for Veszprém. Do you think it'll be similar this year?
Well, after the draw, I immediately spoke with Kevin, EHF's French correspondent, and we spoke a little bit about the chances. And I asked him, is that true that the only way that Paris Saint-Germain is stronger than they were last year is that now they have a goalkeeper? And he said, definitely. I mean, the most important problems the team had last year, and we're talking about Paris Saint-Germain now, the most important problems are still on. I mean, they couldn't overcome them. So I would say that Veszprém has the edge here. And I seem to agree with people from the Paris Saint-Germain staff who made statements that it's like 70-30 for Veszprém, and there seems to be a common understanding of their possible win, and they say that if they don't win by at least 5 goals at home in Paris, they're out, and I agree with them. Although I don't see Veszprém losing by 5 goals even in Paris.
Tom, can you hear us again? Because you were temporary. Yeah. Do you agree with Bence that PSG, so to say, haven't solved the problems they already had last year, except of signing Omaye as goalkeeper, whereas Veszprém signed Marguč, they have Mikla, they have Nilsson now, they have sides, so they probably are even stronger than last year.
Well, as you know, Thomas, they were 2 of my tips for the Final Four based on
yes,
based on the transfer they brought in. And I agree with Bence that Veszprem looked very, very strong. But look back to the game against Rhein-Neckar-Löwen, and they were shown to have an awful lot of frailties. Their over-reliance on Illich sometimes, and on Sulic and Stroke Nielsen, who, by the way, has been very good for them this season, I think. With Chema in the middle, because you never quite know what Chema's going to do. I know that the coach absolutely loves him, but sometimes I think he's I can't quite put my finger on what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I think he's a blessing, and sometimes I think he's a curse.
I'm sorry, are you talking about Chema now?
Yes.
Well, this is the most vicious argument in Veszprem now. Is it Lekoi or is it Chema? And there are two parties. You know, they keep fighting. You know, just look at any of the forums or the you know, people talk about this a lot. And so this is a nice thought what you're saying now.
Yeah, Bence, believe it or not, I have it written in my notes here. Chema, question mark, versus Lekoi, question mark, question mark, question mark. You know, it's one of those things.
Well, that's 2 question marks for Chema and 3 for Lekoi.
Yeah, I realized that too. And I say it's exclamation mark for Lekoi then.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is it's 3 question marks for Lekoi because I'm wondering why he's not played more.
Yeah,
That's why he's got
I asked Ortega.
If you look back to the game against Rhein-Neckar-Löwen, Thomas, they were absolutely shown up in their frailties, Veszprem, really shown up badly, and Rhein-Neckar-Löwen absolutely destroyed them on counter-attack. I mean, the game was a non-event for Veszprem. So they have got weaknesses. They've just won the CEHF Final Four, but by all accounts, you know, some teams didn't bother based on what was going on and everything else like that. That's not to take away from Veszprem having won it, because it looks like a really strong league. But I have a feeling that there's always a surprise in the last 8. There's always a surprise. And I'm not saying that Sege can do it against Kiel. That could be the surprise. But this Paris team is getting better and better and better this season. Now, I've watched an awful lot of them, Thomas. They have a problem in the defense when they play Go Yun with Ndi, that they're so slow, mobile-wise, left and right, that they leave the 2 halfbacks sort of open for 1-against-1. Now, Nodge is not going to be the guy to take on that 1-against-1, but Seitz could. Illich will be on his side against the likes of Barchet or even Kopliar. I think they look stronger with Kopliar in the middle, but it's not something the coach is doing at the moment. But if you watch the way they're playing, there's more team play involved with them now. Melic looks like he's settled in. Kopliar looks like he's stronger. And even though it looked like the draw against Dunkirk was a nice draw for Paris, it was very, very difficult. And what Paris did was they won both games, Thomas. They dug deep and they found some answers. And I just see a little bit of team starting to come out in Paris. I can't explain it. I'm not saying that Veszprem is going to lose before I get 6,000 Hungarian fans asking to be my friend on Facebook so they can send me messages. All I'm saying is that Paris...
Did that really happen?
No, it didn't happen. But it happened to a referee friend of mine that they didn't like. He got all these friend requests. No, I'm just saying that Paris with Narcisse in the centre look really strong. With Mikkel Hansen in the centre, Barchet doesn't seem to play as well. He tends to, like, Hansen lays the ball on the plate for him so he can score. But when Barchet has a decision to make, he tends to lay the ball off to Hansen and let Hansen decide the game, which he needs to find a bit more confidence in himself. But just something about this Paris team at the moment, Thomas, maybe they're coming right at the right time. Now, I'm not saying that they will beat Veszprem. In fact, it will be very difficult to do it. But they definitely have found a little bit of heart, and may I say it, a tiny bit of soul.
Nemanja, how do you see this game? Do you see the potential there for an opposite result to what we saw last year?
Well, first of all, I'm going to comment on the Lekoi Chema thing because I kind of like both players, but when used wisely. I like Lekoi very much because he's very versatile, but neither of them is a long-term solution for either position in this Veszprem team. Speaking of the type, I'm gonna go for Veszprem and I'm going to say it straightforward because I think that West Brom is much more of a team that Paris Saint-Germain is and can be by the end of this season. Sorry, Tom, I really like your argument, but speaking of what I've seen of West Brom, and I've seen him like 4 times this season, I really like this team, and I think that they're ready to take the major step this year. I think that they will attack the finals. Speaking of how West Brom will play, once again, I'm going to quote what Momir Ilic said to me. He said, "I like simple, effective handball that I played in Kiel, and that's why I've selected to go to West Brom." That speaks volumes in favor of West Brom and what they're trying to accomplish there. I'm actually thinking about thinking this is going to be a difficult game, and I believe that the first one in France gives a slight bit of the edge to Paris Saint-Germain, but not to lose with so many goals. So I think that West Brom is going to be the winner of this one, of the first one.
And you said, if I understood you correctly, that they might go even further once they reach the Final Four. I'm just throwing in another question that comes from Fulya. Do you think they can, assuming they make the Final Four, can potentially even reach the final in Cologne? Are they that good in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I have confidence in them. I cannot say before we see who's going to play who in the Final Four, but they're going to be participants for sure. And knowing how experienced the bunch is at West Brom, I just cannot overlook them for this Final Four. They seem to add up to the team season by season, and I think that they're not going to miss out on what they've set to accomplish this season.
Bence, do you agree that West Brom is already thinking beyond this quarterfinal?
Well, I hope not. I mean, this is a sign of weakness if you do that. But also, you know, I just wanted to draw back to what you said. I mean, if somebody goes to the Final Four, can they go all the way? And this is a question that, you know, the Final Four is a different tournament. It's a brand new story. You know, the season is over. The Final Four, just take a look at the teams that won it in the last 2 editions of the Cologne event. I mean, you can predict if they're there, they're contenders. They can win pretty easily. But also, you know, I like what you guys said about Paris Saint-Germain, but I'd rather believe Kevin, who's French, who sees them week after week and day after day. And he said that if they didn't have Hansen, I mean, this team would have been almost the same as last year. And of course, they had a good goalkeeper now, which could be a problem. But still, unity is important in handball.
Guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I think we had some fantastic discussions, and I could see that the viewer numbers that are following us here are going up. But I have to move to the handball manager game, and I fear this is going to cost us another 10 minutes, because I've heard that there's been lengthy discussions in the lead up to this hangout already. Just to fill in fans, you chose last time we met. You chose the Vada goalkeeping duo as your goalkeeper. You have Karabatic, and Michael Goretzky on the backcourt. Aguilar Galde and Manuel Strilik, line player, wing player, and then obviously you lost Patrick Gretzky as one of your wings, and you have to replace them. And now you have to make the decision who to take.
Without Björn?
I think Björn, as far as I've heard, Björn suggested Victor Tomáš, but I think there was disagreement on this. No,
Björn just emailed me from the truck stop and said that he will go with the 2 boys and Marguč.
Is that how easy it is? Gasper Marguč?
Well, Thomas, my own, because I have my own personal team, which I'm not going to tell anybody the name of, O'Brien T. No, I'm not telling anybody the name of, and I'm in the bottom 25%, so I am not choosing anybody for this game this week, so I'll go along with the boys if they want Marguč.
Marguč it is.
The only thing I would say is that Marguč is not playing, like, because Guyash is playing quite well, you know, so they kind of split the time, so he's not going to score an awful lot of goals for us. Whereas Victor Tomas does play all the games, so he's bound to score more goals.
Well,
if he gets the pass, you know.
I don't think that convinced neither Bence nor Nemanja.
I told you, I'm not making a choice. I'm just throwing in my oar.
Well, there is a third choice that I've mentioned in the email.
I knew that would get complicated.
Well, it is, but I'm not under any illusion that either of you are going to select the player, but I'm still going to suggest Zlatko Horvat, for example. He's a killer in the counter. He is very efficient and he takes the penalties. So there come the points. He can be the captain.
But he will be gone by the next round, if everybody's to be believed, and that means we'd have to lose money on selling him. So do we go for someone that we can keep, or someone that we have to sell? I mean, what are the chances? Is Barcelona going to go through? We pick Victor. If not, we pick Marguč / Horvat. I'm not making a choice, Thomas. I'm just, as I said, stirring the pot.
No, I need a decision. Truck Stop Björn is out. Truck Stop Björn says he goes for the majority.
I say Bence makes the choice because Nemanja is kind of like slightly the new guy, and Bence has got 2 Hungarian teams.
I'm not against Marguč at all. I really like Marguč, so to vote for Marguč.
Bence, is that 2 for Marguč?
Yeah, Marguč is it. Marguč it is. I mean, I threw him out in the first place. It would be stupid for me to back out now.
So we've replaced Patrick Gretzky by Gaspar Marguč. The expert team is among the top 25% at the moment.
Good one.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see where you guys are when we meet again, just ahead of the Final Four for our next tenor. As I said before, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining this discussion. And we'll see you again very soon, I think, here at these Hangouts. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.